Welcome back to the final part of our video tutorial where we are learning how to create a simple web page about New York City. Along the way we are learning quite a few new little tricks that you can put into your web design arsenal. And in this second video all we are doing is making our web page look good by applying a bit of CSS styling to the HTML structure that we've already got from the previous video. To get started on this styling you'll need to jump over to brackets and make yourself a new file. And the new file needs to be saved before we start typing anything. So go to File and Save As. Find that new folder you created today called number 5, Videos, Maps and Fonts. And just in there we're going to call our file style.css. Save it right there next to our index. Now before going any further, I want to link the index page and the style sheet together so they can talk to one another. So any styling we put into the style sheet will be applied to our New York City web page. All you need to do is find the head section at the top, and underneath the title we're going to write link rel equals style sheet, and then write href equals and point to your style sheet. So it should be called style.css, and that line of code right there will link the style sheet to this index page. Save it up and you are now ready to start styling your web page up. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is just change the fonts like we usually do, which go in the body section. So let's do up a body tag in our style sheet. Open up some curly brackets and we'll start by setting the font size to 1em. We'll change the font family to sans serif. And we will also change the line height to 1.5em. Save that and we'll go and have a look at what happens. So basically the font at the moment is a serif font. It means each letter has a little cap on the end, or little feet on the end. If I refresh this page, watch them disappear. Okay, it's now a sans serif font, and this sans serif font has been proven to be easier to read on a computer screen. That's why I tend to use it most of the time. There's also a little bit of breathing room between each line of text now with that line height at 1.5em. Alright, so that's the body bit looking, the text looking good. One other thing we can do with the body is get rid of this little white margin down the left hand side. It doesn't look too bad there at the moment, but I want to get rid of it still, so I'm just going to set that margin to 0. Save it up, refresh it, and you can see that left hand margin is now gone completely. Okay, so that's all I'm going to style up for the body section. Next thing I want to style up is this header. So the header at the top, I want it big, and also want a picture in the back of that header as well. So instead of just this white background, I want to put a bit of a photo of the New York City skyline with this New York City text written over the top of it. Okay, so if we look at our index page quickly, we called this div section here header. That's the unique class name we gave it, so we can just edit that isolated from the rest of the page. So we're going to put in dot header here, and the first thing I'm going to put in the header is that background image. Okay, so we write in background because that's what we're changing, and then we write URL, and then in brackets click images and choose NYC. Okay, so that's going to put this background this picture in our background of our header. If I just save it and test it now, it's going to look quite crap. So you can see there's just this skinny blue strip, which is the sky in the photo. So we need to make that strip a lot bigger so we can actually see what's going on. One thing we could do here is change the height of the header. At the moment it's very small, so let's set that height to about 225 pixels. We'll see if that makes any difference. There we go, so that's looking a bit better. We can start to see now that city skyline. Still doesn't look great though. You can only see the top of a couple of buildings. So let's change the background size. And we're going to set this background size to cover. Watch what happens now. Should squish the image in a little bit better. Still doesn't look 100% perfect, but we're getting there now. It's starting to look better. It's just squished that in now. It's like a big cover photo. The way we're going to see more of that is by adding padding to it. So the padding is going to get rid of this white box at the top here and probably move down, how many pixels? Maybe about 45 pixels on each side. Let's try that and we'll see what happens. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for, so that's good now. So we've got our header background looking sweet, but the text over here looks a bit out of place. It's dull and it's boring, plus it doesn't contrast very well with the photo, so it's a bit hard to read. So let's jazz that up. I'm going to actually do that in a different tag now. It's going to be the H1 tag we style up. Remember our heading was wrapped around H1 tags, so let's style up the H1 section. First of all, let's get that color contrasting with the background. So I'm going to change the color to white. That way our font will become much easier to see on that dark blue sky. I'm going to change the size next to about 80 pixels, which is quite large. We have a look again here now. It's going to fill up that empty gap over there. I'm going to align it to the left of the page. Actually, it already is. I probably don't need to write text align equals left. We'll leave it as is. And this is where we're going to get a bit fancy, and we're going to change the font. Okay, generally we'd write font family, and we've only got these ones to pick from. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 different options, and they all look pretty boring. But what we can do is change this font family to something a bit more exciting by going onto a website called Google Fonts. Now on Google Fonts you can basically search for any old type of font and it's probably going to have it. This is one I found a little bit earlier called Shadows into Light, and I didn't mind this font. I think it looks pretty modern and kind of edgy, so I'm going to roll with this one. Now the way you get this font into your web page is by scrolling down and finding this blue button on the right that says select regular 400, hit the little plus sign, and it doesn't look like it does anything, but up the top here it's selected this font family. And if I click on this little bunch of squares here with a plus sign, it shows me the family of, or the font family that I've selected. All I need to do is scroll down to where it says use on the web. Okay, and what you need to copy is the bottom section of that, actually not that section, we want to go right to the bottom to the CSS bit. And where it says font family, shadows into light and cursive, that's what you want to copy. So just hit that little button there to copy it to your clipboard, jump back into brackets. You probably don't even need to write font family because I just copied it, and I'm going to paste it in. So that's what we need to write in. Font family is this particular font here, and if for some reason it doesn't want to load on someone's computer, it will just load a default cursive font, which doesn't look quite as good, but it's still a bit fancy. Okay, now you'd think that would work, but it's not going to. If I go on preview it, I'll just, where are we, show you that. Okay, it's gone to the cursive font, which is our backup font. I want it to look like this one here. That's the actual font, the shadow into light font that I want to see. So the way we get it is we have to go back to our HTML document, the index up here. Now in the index page, we need to go up to the head section where we've linked our style sheet, go down to the next line, and this time we're going to link our font. Now I actually don't need to type it, it's quite a fair bit of typing. On the Google Font web page, okay, there's this section here just above what we copied before. So there's the CSS we copied, but there's also some stuff up here that we can copy. You need to copy this bottom section, the link href equals, and copy that. So Control C to copy, back into your HTML page, and press Control V to paste. And that links Google Fonts now to your style sheet, and it will allow us to put this particular font, Shadows into Light, into our web page. So if you've saved everything, go and test it and see if this font changes from the cursive to that cool new font. That looks pretty sweet. So our header section is pretty much done. That looks awesome. What we need to do now is just focus on the bottom sections. Okay, so the first thing I might do is just fix up this main section here by removing that margin at 0 and just giving it a bit of padding so it just pushes it across a little bit. Okay, so in our index page you would remember that our main section has the class name called main. So let's style him up. I'm just going to go to the bottom of my style sheet here. I'm I'm going to write dot main. And inside those curly brackets, I'm just going to put some padding in. Now I'm going to put 2 lots of padding. I'm going to put 0 pixels to start with. That's the padding around the top and the bottom of my basically text and video and map. But I'm going to put 20 pixels of padding on the left and right hand sides of the text and the map and the video. So you'll be able to see 20 pixels of padding appear down the left hand side here. And there's also a little bit down the right hand side. Okay, so that just looks a little bit nicer. The next thing we're going to be styling up is the video. So what did we call the video? We're just going to access the video tag actually. So let's type in the video tag. And the first one I want to put in is display and put inline. So it just displays like text just on a line. So we can put text on either side of it, or we can put a Google map on the other side of it, and it shouldn't move or affect the page in any way. After we've displayed it inline, I want to put a little bit of padding around it too. So padding is going to be set to 0 pixels for the top and bottom padding, but I'm going to set the left and right side padding to 40 pixels. If I go and preview that now, you're not going to see much difference apart from the video moving across to the right a little bit. Okay, it's just nudged across a little bit. That's all that really changed there. After that, we're going to style up the Google Maps. So the Google Map comes inside a tag called iframe. So let's put in iframe into our style sheet, and we'll style it up. So for the iframe, we're going to float it to the right hand side of the page. That means it's just going to right align it next to our video. We're going to display it inline again. Okay, so that way it just stays in line with the video. And I'm going to put the same padding on it. So 0 pixels up above and below the map, but 40 pixels on the left and right side of the map. Save him up, give it a refresh, and that's looking pretty good. So I've got a little bit of extra space there in the middle now. Now we've just got the footer to go. So if you look at the index page there, we called our footer class footer. Perfect, easy to remember. So let's write dot footer. And all we need to do to that is change the padding. I'm going to set it about 10 pixels. I'm going to change the font size to something a little bit smaller, so 0.75 EM. So that's about 3/4 of the usual size, font size. I am going to align that text in the center of the page. I'm going to change the background to midnight blue, so it kind of blends in with that header at the top. And I'm going to change the color of the writing to white. That's it. So we should have the curly brace to finish it off. We do. I'm going to save it up. Let's go have a look. So we're just looking at the footer now at the bottom. There we go. So we've got this midnight blue footer, white text on top. It's a little bit smaller, the font. I think that works well. So that is our New York City webpage all done and dusted. Just to recap, you learned how to put in a cool Google font. Okay, remember you go to the Google Fonts website to choose all that. You can see there's a whole heap of different fonts there. You've got different categories that you can choose from, languages and all sorts. Okay, so there's, I'm pretty sure, hundreds or even thousands of different fonts that you can pick from. So it's worth your time going to have a look through them, because they're all free to use and they will work on anyone's computer. What else did we learn? We learned how to put a picture here in the background of the header. We learned how to put a video in, and that video works fine. And we also learned how to put a Google map into a web page. Okay, so you've learned quite a few little tricks in this video. I will be back shortly with another video. So I'll see you then.